Welcome to Wild, Women in Lending Determined to Make an Impact. I'm your host, Robyn LaVassaur. They say our biggest fear isn't being inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to Wild with Robyn LaVassaur. How well do you know me? A better question, I guess, is how well do you know you? How well do you know your referral partners, your kids, your partner, your friends? And the truth is, the first person that we really have to understand is ourselves in order to understand other people. But there are incredible tools out there that I think are so underrated. Hence the title, Don't Diss the Disc. When you think about it, so many people to this day that we interview, that we talk to, that really come into the company even, have never had a personality test, which is pretty mind-boggling to me when you think about the value of understanding humans. When you think about the DISC profile, which is a basic one, and kind of one of the most common, I think, commonly known personality tests, I'll give you a little prep in case you've never taken one before. You answer the most random questions in the most random order, and thinking the whole time, am I getting this possibly wrong or right, depending on how you yourself are built? And it spits out within a matter of minutes a complete dissertation on who you are naturally and how you adapt in certain moments and how to communicate with you, what works, how to praise you, how to potentially discipline you or correct you, how you work in groups or by yourself. And I will tell you what, if you read it, I would say it is probably 98% spot on for people that I see. In fact, sometimes it can feel borderline offensive. Like, I feel like you're talking about me. And yes, guess what? It is, because you answered questions that led to it. And I don't know how they know if you chose a purple horse that you all of a sudden have this personality, but that's what ends up happening with any of these personality profiles. Why is it important? What does it have to do with business and with life? Having those kind of tools now that have been created over probably years of studies, right? Trials, different things, is a leg up for every single one of us. Communication, I believe, is probably one of the number one things that people underestimate, right? And we communicate in a lot of different ways. And even depending on our DISC profile, if you will, and how we are made up, that communication starts to count at visual, right? When you're a high I, visual aesthetics mean a lot to a high I. To a high C, they might mean absolutely nothing. They want to look at the actual data, right? The numbers. They could care less if there is a pretty picture on the wall or a family photo on the other side. And these aren't the things that I say. Trust me when I tell you I'm not a DISC expert by any means. However, learning about myself and who I am. So in my world, I'm a very high D and I'm a very high I. How does that contribute to my team? How does that contribute to my clients, to my referral partners? Well, once I understood myself, I could see traits in others and go, oh, I don't have a lot of that, but you do. You're an S, you're a C. I am not. Now, most people I can pinpoint these days and say, I bet if I saw your DISC, this is what I would see. Why does that help you? When you are sitting down with a client and they are a high C, you know that the most important thing that you can do for them is help them understand, analyze, and choose the best option based on actual data. It is so incredibly important to them that all of the I's dotted and T's crossed are going to be incredibly important throughout the transaction. A high C often doesn't want to sign anything until all the numbers are exact, right? They're the ones who maybe drive you crazy, who are like, I'm not signing this. And you're like, no, you'll see it on the next form that gets sent out. Doesn't matter. Not signing the one that is wrong. Your high C wants to see all of that data. I used to get frustrated at who I was sitting across from as if they possibly weren't my client or a jerk or too analytical. It's really because they were just different than me. And so what actually makes them feel comfortable is very different than what makes me feel comfortable. I'm a relationship person or a bottom line figure, but I don't want all the details. When I understood that about myself, I then understood how to work with people, right? Even in my own marriage, my children, all of those things. And so if you have an actual understanding of personality profile, You can get better at reading other people. And here's one of the best things that I think comes of it. You no longer think other narratives about it. You recognize that we are all just built differently. And while we can adapt a little bit from the zone that we are most natural in, so if I'm a high D naturally, how do I adapt in a moment of stress? How do I adapt in a moment of fun, right? What does that look like? We all have a natural and an adapted style, but really it's not very far off most of the time, which means, hey, you were just built differently than me. Now that I recognize that, I don't need to try to change it. I don't need to get angry at it. I need to figure out how to work within it. And can we work well together as a result of it? I'll tell you a story. My sister is a high S, and she actually works in the mortgage industry at our office, and she loves a long explanation for everything. What I didn't realize is that she was feeling incredibly offended as she would walk into my office, and frequently in the workplace, I am a high D. So I like, bottom line, what's the problem? How do we get to the solution? She wants to tell me a very long story of what happened to begin with, and then eventually the problem, and then eventually talk about solutions. When I'm in D mode and she's in S mode, we are very likely to offend one another. I'm annoyed, she feels dismissed. It's not a win-win. Now, I love the heck out of my sister, I will tell you that, and she is brilliant in her workspace, as am I. But we didn't understand each other for a very long time. Once we understood one another's disc, she would walk in sometimes and I would say, I'm sorry, I'm in high D mode. And she would go, got it. Here's the bullet points. And she would shift. Now, I could get away with that about 3 or 4 times in a row, where sometimes I would have to stop and go, you know what? Tell me the whole story. Why? Because I had to allow for her to be her with me as well in order for her to feel cared for. Leads me to another disc profile that really is about love languages, right? I have sworn by love languages in my marriage. I swear by understanding not only my own love languages, my husband's love languages, and then that of my teams. Yes, they have it in a more PC version, which is like love languages in the workplace, that type of thing. But the truth is, we all have a language that speaks to us. I am not a huge gift person. I've never been a huge gift person. When people love to give gifts, I think it's really nice, but I'm not. I actually like to gift more than I like to receive. But man, I love an atta-girl. I know it about myself. I love a shout out. And while I hid from that for a little bit, the truth is I need a gold star. I need a pat on the back, a recognition. I had an employee who absolutely, it was just glaringly obvious that she needed that atta-girl. And I would publicly praise her from time to time, and you would literally watch her disposition change for days on end as if her cup had just been filled up. My husband's a quality time guy, right? Like when we understand those things about one another, we can recognize, you know what? I'm not speaking enough of the love language, which means their cup is empty with me. And that creates friction, tension, lost clients, lost relationships, people not feeling cared for. And so gaining perspective through all of the data that's already been written in books, put into podcasts, and issued in tests literally will help you not only grow just in your personal perspective of human beings and yourself, but it will absolutely catapult your business if you really spend some time in this space. Disc profile, highly recommend. Working Genius, which is a quick test online. Most of these are like anywhere from $6 to $18, I believe. So very easy, very well spent investment. Disc profile, I would highly recommend. I would highly recommend Working Genius by Patrick Lencioni. He does a beautiful job of you understanding yourself in the workplace, understanding your competency, your frustration, and your joy zone. I'll tell you what, if you are doing work every single day that never hits your joy zone, you will be miserable in your job for the rest of your life. If you can stay in your joy and competency zone most of the time and do very minimally in your frustration zone, man, you are going to love work and it will never truly feel like work. Most people don't even know that about themselves well enough to know that they need to make a change or an adjustment and how to ultimately find joy every single day in the work that they do. Enneagram, that's another one that I'll wrap in, and then Strength Finder. Those are 2 awesome ones. Enneagram, I love it when people understand it because you can literally ask a client, have you ever done a personality profile? And if they have, it's a great conversation starter with both clients and referral partners. They'll tell you all about it. I'm an 8. I'll tell you what, Enneagram on the 8, If it's a bad version of the 8, meaning an unhealthy version, it's ugly. When I first read it, I was like, oh, good night. That is an awful, awful thing. It says this is an unhealthy 8. Oh, wow. I have some tendencies. Of course I do, right? We all have good and bad behavior at any given time. I'm aware now more than ever of my unhealthy version of my 8, which pushes me to want to be a very healthy 8, understanding myself better. It's a gift. It's a gift that whoever created all these things, I am forever thankful, because it is absolutely a game changer in understanding humans, understanding yourself, and then having communication and relationships at the very highest level. Get yourself out a DISC profile or any of the other tests I mentioned, and let's grow. We'll see you soon.